Welcome to Common Sense Wellness with Dr. Gary Martin, the show that helps you take control of your health with clarity, confidence, and practical wisdom. Dr. Gary Martin has spent decades in clinical practice and natural wellness research, discovering that the key to lifelong vitality lies in understanding the body's signals before they become symptoms. Each week, we will explore simple science-backed methods like mineral testing, facial scans, and lifestyle adjustments that help you restore balance from the inside out. You'll also hear from expert guests and real clients who have turned their health challenges into stories of transformation. No gimmicks, no fads, just common sense wellness that works. Now, here's your host, Dr. Gary Martin.
Disclaimer, no diagnosis or treatment for disease is intended. Any observations or comments made by me are for general educational purposes only, and they simply represent my personal opinion regarding what I would do if I personally had the same concerns as the person voicing the question or comment. Please see a licensed health practitioner for all diagnosis, treatment, and information concerning prevention, cure, or restorative health care. I hold DN, DSC, PhD, DNM, and PhD degrees. I am not a medical doctor. I'm not a licensed health practitioner by choice. This information is for educational purposes only. It is not meant to cure, treat, prevent disease, nor prescribe, nor to be used for diagnosis. Please be aware that you accept all risks associated with any of the protocols that we discuss.
Welcome to Common Sense Wellness. I'm Dr. Gary Martin, and in this episode, I'm going to walk you through one of the most compelling case studies I've ever seen. An Amish farmer whose crushing fatigue, timid personality, and failing energy all had a measurable explanation in his BIA and HMA results. We'll look at 4 successive balance charts, a copper-zinc ratio that explains more than most personality tests, and what the Memgram revealed about the emotional pattern driving it all.
Okay, so what I have on my screen, for those of you that are on the video, and by the way, audios are always posted to the Multitude, Dr. Martin's Multitude module in the Learnistic app. The audio to this will be posted tonight or tomorrow sometime. So always look there for previous audios or the audio from the call that you were just on. Be Your Own Doctor newsletter subscribers, they have the video as well as the audio. Okay, so here I've got a case. I just talked to this gentleman today and just thought, that's an interesting case. I think it would be something I could talk about tonight. Okay, so this gentleman is, I forget whether he's Amish or whether he's Mennonite, but he's not on the internet. He does have a fax machine, but he's not on the internet. He doesn't have a computer and so forth. So it's kind of tedious, but we work with a lot of people that, not just Amish really, just people who just don't have a computer. Personally, I can't identify with that at all, but I'm kind of a techie guy, so that's why. All right, so remember, when you do a test, you plot the test. The first thing you do is you grab your balance chart and you plot the numbers as dots on the balance chart. So his first test, I got 4 tests on here. And one of the reasons this doesn't happen this way a lot of times, so I haven't done it before, but this guy's tests are like pretty spread apart here. So it's kind of easy to see what's going on if we just kind of concentrate on the life-death line that we have here. But if you notice here that the first time that we tested him was last September, 9/27. Now, look how high he is. Look how concentrated he is. He's clear up in range 9 on his proteins. Okay, and of course his life-death line, he doesn't have, let's see, that's the black numbers. All right, so he doesn't have any numbers. This is the line right here, 3-3, whatever that is, over there, up there. All right, so that's that test. And then the line between the sugars and the proteins is the life-death line. So look how slanted that is. See, but this is interesting. look at every one of his tests, except for maybe this purple one here in November. All right, but I'll explain that why that's that way. But look how similar they are in that slant. See, in other words, everybody kind of has a profile. This is almost kind of like a fingerprint, maybe you could say. All right.
I'm not looking at it. So you're saying it's moved up or down?
Okay, well,
the balance
yeah,
chart,
down is, I haven't got there yet, but down is what they are, right? So
But
he,
the angle is what you're saying.
yeah, the angle is high, is very, very high on the right. It's like you're looking at a teeter totter and the right guy is really high and the left guy is really low. All right. All right. So his, oh, I don't have that information, but one of his complaints was fatigue. He's about late 50s, almost 60, and he was getting to the point where he couldn't even make it through a day. He's a mason. Now that's coming to me. He's a farmer, but he's a mason for a job, and I don't know how he works that into farming, but somehow he does. And by mid-afternoon or whatever, he just almost had to go home. He just couldn't handle it anymore. Look at his concentration. You can see that you don't even have to know anything about numbers, because the higher the dots go on this balance chart, the more your cells are starved for oxygen because you're way too concentrated. So what did he mostly need to do here?
Breathe.
Yeah, drink water. That's what he needed to do. Water is the #1 health problem in America. So simple. It fixes so much. You can't even believe your body's cries for water is a really good book to read. It's available for Kindle if you want it. So, and of course his salt, so his proteins were in range 9, his salts was in range 7, his saliva pH was in range 4.5, his urine pH was in range 4, and his sugars was in range 3. So he didn't have anything at all down in the healing zone, where you have to be. Remember, the healing zone is you want all your dots to be between 0 and +2. And basically you use two of the numbers to know if you're drinking enough water. One is the sugars between 1.5 and 2.5, and the salts between 7 and 10. The reason why we pick those two numbers, because those two numbers go up and down on a scale by how much you drink. You can make your sugars and your salt numbers go up just because you are dehydrated. All right. So he goes on the program. The program almost always kicks off a detox. Now look at his second test, which was November 30. Look at that line. Now it's kind of hard to see because that one was done in purple, but that one is like way down. And remember, you never want to have any dots in the minus. All right, he's got his sugars are in -7. Let me get rid of that. -7. So the incline is like really, really high. His proteins did drop from range 9 to 6, but his sugars dropped way down. And the slant, but see, that's a sign of detox. Remember, the left side of the line is energy in, the right side of the line is energy out. This is like a pipe. You're stuffing energy in the left, that's why we call it life, and you're moving the toxicity out, and that's on the right. So it's like a pipe. So because it's called life-death line, we want this line to be horizontal. The goal is to get the line to be horizontal on the balance chart. Now, again, notice we're not even talking numbers here. We're just looking at the numbers made into a picture, made into a graph. And all we did there was by plotting the numbers on the graph. Okay, so now the second test was 1221. That's this teal line, I guess you might say. Now, notice the difference between the purple line and the teal line. It's really, in fact, it's starting to look more level. Now, I understand it's far from level, but it's looking a lot more level than the previous test. Can you see that? Look at this. See? So as the toxicity comes down, So you see his toxicity came down from range 9 and then range 6 and then range 3 or 4. See, so he's learning about detoxing. He's learning about what foods to eat and not to eat and so forth. And it's paying dividends. All right. And then the last test that we did was this red one here. Okay. So he still has this tendency to have a really low sugar. Well, what was he complaining about? In the very beginning,
No energy.
fatigue. Well, what is energy associated with? What glands in the body primarily? Adrenals,
Mhm.
right? So if you're stressed out and if you've exhausted your adrenals, the adrenals keep a floor under the sugars. They don't do that anymore. They're not able to do it. So in the BIA, when you have adrenal exhaustion, adrenals that need to be supported, you see this kind of a look. You see this really low life with high death line and curve. Okay, so now let's look at his HMA.
Wow.
Look how low all these minerals are. See?
Mm.
He's a farmer? How come he's not eating his vegetables?
God only knows why he's not doing whatever he was doing. And he was extremely timid. I mean, we're talking about extremely timid
Hmm.
and totally unsure of himself. Now, I always find these dichotomies sort of amazing. What I say he did, he's a masonry, right? And what do masons do?
Concrete.
They build blocks,
Mhm.
hard, solid,
Yeah.
secure, blocks that make walls and hold up roofs, and it's a sure thing.
Foundations.
Yeah. But what is he?
Timid.
Tim, exactly the opposite of all that. I always find these in life are just hilarious. Right? Okay. All right. So, but I said he's timid. Well, okay. So look at his copper. Oh man, copper is
Wow.
like, I don't know what don't have that sheet here, but copper is like off the chart, literally off the chart. All right. Like the top of the chart is 7.5. It should be between 1.5 and 3. All right. He's 7.6. Okay. Way off the chart. Now, copper can be toxic. All right. But there's this thing called the copper-to-zinc ratio. Copper is the female element. Zinc is the male element. And the ratio between copper and zinc should be about 8. In other words, the zinc to copper ratio should be 8. Now, anytime in the HMA world, when you talk about a ratio and you say the zinc to copper ratio, okay, well, in your mind, you see that as the first mineral that you mentioned is on top, the second mineral is always on the bottom. So the zinc to copper ratio, zinc to copper, zinc's on top, copper's on the bottom. Then you say the zinc to copper ratio should be 8. Okay, what that means is the top number should be 8 times whatever the bottom number is. Okay, so, and the ratios in the body, the mineral ratios and whatever, are extremely important to maintain. So here you have copper at 7.6. So in order to find out what would the zinc have to be in order to be in balance with the copper, you would take 8 times 7.6,
56.
which would be like, 56 or something, right? What is his zinc? 14. So now you know why he's timid. What'd I tell you? I told you. Now this is I know this is a generalization about male and female and all that kind of stuff, right? But it works for the HMA.
That's true.
What's that?
It looks true. It's the weak element here, but it is the male, and it's not
Right.
greater number.
Yeah, exactly. So all my point is that he's going to have an extremely difficult time changing that personality trait, which is not serving him at all, as you're going to see in some other areas here, without doing something about his mineral. This is why we do the HMA along with, which is a quantitative measurement, along with the BIA. All right. So And also, let me just say this, as we were looking at the balance chart here, the instrument that we use to measure the sugars is called what? It's called-
Refractometer.
Right, it's called the refractometer, refractometer. And it is measured, and it's bricks. Now you can get a refractometer that measures a lot of things, really. We use the one called bricks because it has to do with the sugars, and it also has to do with minerals in the body. So what does this guy have? Well, first of all, he goes into detox, and what happens to his sugars? Man, they fall through the floor. Look at them. -7, -2, range 0. Range 0 is okay if everything else is in range 0. But in this case, the number the perfect number is the bad guy.
for him.
You'll see this a lot. If you have a perfect number and all the rest of the numbers are not perfect, I guarantee you that the bad guy is the perfect number. And
What causes that? What causes the sugars to drop crash so low?
this,
He
he doesn't have the mineralization.
to hold the,
See, the mineralization, the more mineralized you are, the easier it is the more ripe you are. You can take, now you can't take the refractometer that is in your client lab kit because it can't go high enough. There's a refractometer that goes up to 32. Okay, you can use that to measure how good the fruit is by measuring the fruit juice.
Oh.
Now I have a chart. I'll make a note. Let's see, the bricks chart. I will
That
make a
is
note to send that link to you in the email. There's a really neat bricks chart that shows you this is what a good lemon is. This is what a good watermelon is. This is what a good papaya is. This is what a good apple is. This is what a good orange is. But whatever. Remember, Dr. Reams was in the field of agriculture.
Right, and that's in the RBTI, the booklet, because you had it in there, and I'm like, what is this here for?
Oh, I did. Oh,
Well,
good.
you
All
gave
right.
it to
Well,
us.
oh, good. All right. Outstanding. Thank you. All right. So you see well, I won't go there. I was about to describe my mind, but it's a long story. All right. So anyway, this is the answer right here.
Wait, on the bricks, though, on the fruit. So we're looking for a high bricks index on
High
fruit.
bricks. Yeah. Higher the better.
Okay, so that's sugars and antioxidants.
Not
Is that correct?
just sugars and minerals in general.
Oh, sugars and minerals.
Yeah.
Does fruit have more than vegetables?
I think vegetables are on the list too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Okay. So not fruit necessarily. It's just, okay.
No,
Sugars
I just
and
mentioned
fruit.
fruit because of the sugar aspect. All right, so this guy is going to have to consume a lot of fruit. Why? Oh, because of his balance chart. Yeah, and he's going to have to take dronitropin probably for the rest of his life to help rebuild the adrenals, because the adrenals didn't get this way overnight, and you don't put them back together overnight. Sorry to say, most people spend the first 50 years of their life living a lifestyle that tears their body down. They spend the next 50 years trying to put it back together. That's just how it works. That's life. And everybody is looking for the quick fix. And that's why we have a medical profession today that is based on
A quick fix.
drugs, based on poisons, basically. I'm not talking about these guys. I mean, if I get hit by a car and I got 40 broken bones and whatever, I want these guys taking care of me, because that is where they shine. They shine in the whole structural hardware, the whole emergency medicine thing, whatever. But I don't want these guys trying to figure out how to keep me healthy, because I'm sorry, they don't know. They don't know how. Okay. And they will look at a test like this and just poo-poo it up one side and down the other for all kinds of reasons. Who cares? Okay, so all right. So I just thought it was interesting when today I happened to notice that, oh, wait a minute, there's a correlation between why he has such a hard time keeping his sugars up and the first. Now, his recent life has been much worse than his past life. All right, so not past life, but you know what I mean, age-wise. The HMA sort of does the thing here. The first 4 columns on the HMA represent your present,
Wow.
and the second 4 columns on the HMA represent your past. Now, unlike the Memgram chart, where we can get right in and tell you what age, what happened, and give you the words that describe it, and all that, you know, the HMA, that's not its purpose, and it can't do it even if it was. But it is this kind of a global look, so we can look at it and say, man, okay, so let's just say the guy's he's 60, or I think wait, it says right here 53. All right, 53. All right, so I guarantee you that the last 25 years have been a whole lot harder on him than the previous 25. You can definitely say that. All right. Not that you can really do anything with it. You can't really do anything with that information, just having the HMA. But right away, as soon as you say that, the head starts nodding and it says, "Oh boy, you sure got that right." You know, why, buddy? And then he talks for a half an hour. All right. But this is why we have the tool called the Memgram chart. Well, what's the plan against your life? Everybody has one. The more you know about it, the more you're able to do something about it and make it harder for it to happen. All right. So, all right. So now let's look at his, oh my gosh, can you believe that it's already, time is almost up? Unbelievable. All right. So now let's look at his test history.
Make it bigger.
All right. So the first test, look at his proteins, 12 over 12.
Oh, that's Bobby.
And top of the scale would be 14 over 12. Actually, the top of the scale is 18 over 12, but 14 over 12. And if you, for those of you doing the test, if you ever have a situation where as soon as you drop the 4 drops of nitrogen into that, and it's like poof, it turns blue. I mean, you hardly even got your finger on the timer, on the 4-minute timer, and it's like blue, it's all blue. Okay, that's an 18. That's not a 14 on top. The formula, I'll just tell you, the formula for that is if you do enough tests on different people other than yourself, you will definitely have an occasion to see that. You add 1 for every minute of the 4 minutes that it didn't take for it to turn blue. Now, if it starts turning and then by the end of the 4 minutes, ding, 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 at the end of the 4 minutes, you look down and the whole thing is just a blue, that's a 14. All right. But what if it happened bingo? Well, isn't that worse?
18, yeah.
Right. See, isn't that worse? Yeah, it's worse. So we got to give a value to that. So if it took a minute for it to do it, then it would be 17. And if it took 2 minutes, it would be 16. If it took 3 minutes, it would be 15. And then if it didn't get that way until the very end, then there's your 14. And 14 is on your chart, on this chart right here.
So when you say
It would be this, what? It would be this blue guy right here.
At a minute, when you're doing the 4-minute timer, you're saying if it doesn't turn bluish, you got to keep it on another minute?
No, I said that if the test is, you give it 4 minutes to do its thing. Okay, at the end of 4 minutes, you read it. Okay, but the maximum on the chart is 14. That's this blue guy right here. All right. So the maximum on the chart is a 14 at the end of 4 minutes. Well, what if it happens right away? That's a whole lot worse than it takes 4 minutes to get there. That's all I'm saying. So for every minute of the 4 that it didn't take you add 1.
Oh, so you could be like, if you're on 2, then
Right, you add 2. And if it happens on the 3rd minute, you add 3. And if it happens on the 4th minute, you don't add any because it is a 14 then, because 14 is on the chart.
but you're working backwards, so you go.
You're working
from
backwards,
8
yeah. Yeah,
to 18.
right. So 14 over 12 is the top, the top of the scale. All right, so he was like 12 over 12. All right, so now his next test, you see, he was 10 over 8. See, this is the same as what I was showing you here on the balance chart. Remember, I told you how these numbers are coming down. Remember, you're trying to get dots that are level all the way across the page, a horizontal line. All right, so go back here. And then the next one, he was 7 over 7. Okay, and then the next one, he's 5 over 6. Isn't that neat? That's cool. And he said today, I did a whole load of manure today. And 3 months ago, there's no way I could have done it. Meaning that he had to shovel it.
Yeah.
Well, I knew exactly what he was talking about because I was born on a dairy farm, and I have shoveled more shite than I care to think about. Dairy cows. Oh God, they're a mess. Okay, so I got some. All right.
The best medicine.
What's that?
After's the best medicine.
Oh.
You're helping us right to the end.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so here we go. All right, so the other thing is, what else did I thought was interesting? Oh yeah, his salts. Okay, his salts to start with, well, look at this, 31.
31.
His sugars were 4.4. I mean, look at these extremes here. His sugars were like 3 times perfect, 4.4. Look at his urine pH, 5.6, way down, dumping acid like crazy, making acid, dumping acid like crazy. And 7.4, and remember I told you that in a vital body, this is what tells you that there's a lot of fight in a body, is when that urine goes all the way down like this, but the saliva comes back up to balance it out. That shows you fight in the body, the reserves in the body.
Good.
That's why a low saliva pH is bad, because there's a weakness there. The body is weak. Okay, so, and now that went to 5.9 over 7.6. Then it went from 5.3 to 6.0, and now he's 6.0 over 7.5. So he has the best urine yet. And then his sugars, see what happened to his sugars. See, 4.4 to 0.8. See, but his salts went all the way down to 3. He was overdoing the water at this point. His sugars went way below perfect, and his salts went way below perfect. So I talked to him and, talked to him about, hey, what's your formula? How are you, remember, he has his own kit. He's doing his own testing here. So he can test himself. He can test his sugars and salts every day if he wants to, which would be great. All right. And then so after the little talk, look at it, almost perfect. Sugars 1.5, salts 12. And today he is 1, 3, and 13. So you see, he still has that really hard time. See, the sugar to salt ratio should be about 4.6. So and you see right here, you see ratios, salt to sugars, C to S. His is 10. Well, that's not too hard to see. His salts are 13 and his sugars are 1.3. So that's not too hard to see in your head. That's the ratio would be 13 so it's double the ratio. So the problem is in the sugars. How do you know that? Well, because balanced salts are 12 and he's 13. But look at his sugar gap. His sugar gap is 11 points. 2.4 is what the rest of the numbers are saying his sugars ought to be, and he's only 1.3. This is the value of having the online software. This is the value of not just having the numbers, because you can't see the other, it's harder to see what the numbers should be. But this is why he has a problem with fatigue, with sustained energy right there. So you saw it
this is
on the
from
balance, you saw it on the balance chart by being really low. That's the way to see it picture wise, but you can also see it in the numbers because remember 5 to 10 points is all you want the sugar gap to be. His is 11. His previous test was 18 points. Down here, it was 20 points, but actually it was 40 because anytime the sugars are below perfect, you take your sugar gap and you double it. So it was actually 40 points on test 2. And on his first test, it was 20 or 17 points. So right away, even though he had a 4.4 sugar, his on his very first test, his balance number was 6.1. So he was already low. See, all you do when you drink a lot of water, which you got to do, the same sugar gap is going to pretty much maintain unless you fix what's wrong there. So you're just going to move it down. You're just going to move the numbers down. And now look, see here, you've got the salts about almost need to come down another, 3 or 4 points, but the sugars are already below perfect. See, that's your sign. That's where your problem is.
We need support.
Yeah, it needs to support the adrenals. And he needs lemon water because why? Because his total pHs are higher than 12.8. But does he need to sweeten the lemon water or no? He needs to sweeten it. Why does he need to sweeten it? Because he's got this terrible sugar gap. And how's he going to sweeten it? Well, he's going to sweeten it with honey one day, maple syrup another day, molasses another day, real sugar one day, and brown sugar the next day. You got 5 options, and you should vary them. You shouldn't use the same sweetener every day. And he's going to eat a lot of fruit.
But these gaps and ratios, where do you find that? Is that in your Be Your Own Doctor, or do you have it on your videos?
I teach it in the Be Your Own Doctor newsletter. And the link to that, for those of you who want to learn more about it, is /BYOD. And it's also available online. If you have a computer, you'll have your own online account where you can put your numbers in. And you generate exactly the same thing. I'm looking at you. Oh, I'm looking at you. The same thing that you're seeing here is what you would see for yourself, by yourself. You don't need me and you just plug your numbers in, you hit submit, bam, it gives you all this information right here that you have, the balanced information, which helps you see a little bit more better of what's going on. So the point is, the guy was said today, he says, I can't believe how much better I feel. That's music to your ears when your mission is to help somebody understand how they can feel like they did 20 years ago. Or why they. Now, the other thing is that you'd be surprised at the number of people who don't want to do anything different. They just want to pop a pill that somehow makes them better. And for that, you can't do anything about it. All right. So anyway, did you find that real life example interesting of the power that the BIA had? The BIA and the HMA together just really tells the story.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't even talk about the Memgram.
Yeah.
I have his file right here. I'm just curious. You know me, I can't stop talking about the Memgram. What is it here? Well, I thought I had his file. Let me see here. Here he is. Okay, let me see. What does his Memgram say? Memgram, just curious. In his present effect on his Memgram, he has 13 going to 17. 13 is the adrenals. And interesting. 17 is the atom bomb going off. So, and it's right next door to his adrenals, 13. Very interesting. And guess what's in his core? 14, the mind. The mind. He says, now that he knows the lingo, he says, oh man, I just can't stop going to the movies. Why is that? I never thought about it before, but you got me thinking about this going to the movie thing. And I'm telling you, I live at the movies. Well, yeah, that's why your adrenals are wasted. So every time you're at the what if movie, or you're at the poor me, or woe is me, or why me, or the resentment movie, or the guilt movie, or the shame movie, or the, you're at this movie, you're just stimulating your cells. You are the body, the adrenals think there's a crisis going on. Your cells don't know the difference between real or imagined stress.
Yep.
Got to remember that.
Yeah.
And remember that when the next time you're on the phone and somebody's going on and on about all their problems and all this and that and the other, whatever, you know what? Your cells don't know the difference between the vibration of that sound coming in your ear, going into your blood, or it actually is there and you're actually going through all that stuff yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool.
So as you can imagine, this is the problem with the news and the COVID and the lockdown and the this and the fear and the blah, 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 blah. I mean, we are being poisoned to death.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't get me started.
I put a plug in for Jesus.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Well, because he says, I know no other way.
I know, but this is not church. Okay, this is not church. All right.
But his name is, I am the truth, the way, and the life.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But
I guess some night we're going to have church night. And we'll have church night, and I'll help you understand. But all the principles and everything that we're talking about, it's all there. It's all in the scriptures. All we're doing is applying a scientific method to measure how well you put the truth to work for you. Because that's what perfect numbers are. You can't have perfect numbers if you don't have the truth working for you.
Wow.
You can't do it.
But there's one thing. You said, don't take it personal. Well, the scripture that goes with that, it's no longer I live, but
You know what? I'm
Christ
sorry.
in me. Okay, you said.
Say it again, because somebody coughed.
Yeah.
I did. I'm sorry.
You said that don't take it. It's not personal. It's not about you. So if I'm dead to this world in Christ, then it's the same thing, but it's through Christ because he's God. What I want to say is what it does do for you, it tells you how real the enemy is and why Jesus Christ had to come to this earth and die for us, to pay for our sin, to save us, because there is a real enemy. If you gather that truth in the Memgram, that you will see that there's a real devil after you, and he is a liar and a thief, comes to steal and destroy, and the mind is a battlefield.
Yes.
Right. Otherwise, yes. Otherwise known in our lingo as the dark side. The plan against your life.
Yes.
Because your negative emotions is energy. The whole system is set up for us all to become energy generators for the dark side. Because they got to have us in order to produce the negativity that they feed on. And they're, well,
like with the swine.
They're just stupid.
The demons had to get cast into the swine because they had to go somewhere. They were in the demoniac, but he had 1,000 legions. He said, "What's your name?" A legion, which is 1,000. He had like at least 1,000 demons.
Right.
So they were getting cast out, and they cried out from the man. The demons cried out, like, "Please, don't let us go into the swine." And when Jesus cast out the demons, they entered the swine, but they were. Now, this was somebody's livelihood. All these pigs, that was their piglets, right? So when the demons went in there, it drove them out of their mind, and they all went off the cliff.
In here.
And that's
right,
why,
exactly. And so my whole objective, I grew up and, hearing all this and doing all this, there was always this void, this vacuum between all this knowledge and all this philosophy and all this belief system and all this whatever, and being able to actually put it into practical use or measure how well you are putting it into practical use. That's why I fell in love with, that's why I fell in love with the BIA and with the HMA and as well as the Memgram, because the numbers never lie. You need to know how far away from the truth are you. You need to know that. And that's
why you also fell in love with Jesus, and because you know that he's the answer that's going to set you free from all this.
Right. But I'm here to tell you that God works with you. He does not work for you. Period. Period. Okay. And so that creates a problem. Remember, God works with you.
Yeah.
He does not work for you. And so that's that, just period.
I mean, it's opened my eyes. I've seen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, seeing the light, there's a lot of different ways to see the light. Okay. Boy, well, that was heavy duty. Hey, thanks a lot. Thank you and goodbye. I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Goodbye to the multitude.
Yay.
Bye.
Have a good weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on Common Sense Wellness. If today's conversation got you thinking about your own numbers, best first step is to get yourself a client lab kit and start testing. If you want to go deeper, visit clkme.net/BYOD. Be your own doctor newsletter, or access your online account to plug in your own numbers and see your balance information in real time. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to Common Sense Wellness with Dr. Gary Martin. To learn more about the testing and resources we discussed, or to find out how you can take charge of your own health, visit BIRI.org. You'll find valuable information, free tools, and ways to connect directly with our wellness community. That's BIRI.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share the show with someone who's ready to take their next step toward better health.